select your character.
So who should I play next? Gamma, Big the Cat, or Knuckles? Treasure hunting, fishing, or just shoot?
Big if you want to lose. Big if you want to lose your fucking sanity. E102 or Knuckles. I would say E102 or Knuckles.
Well, Big is just more relaxed because it's just fishing.
I know eventually you're going to have to do Big for the sake of the story, but it's just like, God, that quest was so fucking dumb.
You know what? Let's just get it over with.
Like, Froggy, I'm like,
I'm doing this. I have to do it right now. Let's get Big the Cat out the way. I don't care if people say it's relaxing, but
get some. Bro.
just rip the fucking Band-Aid off.
Like when I first learned that was the voice of Duke Nukem, I was just like, what?
I forgot you had told me that.
Like, holy shit! It's just like it's not something you would expect that dude to voice. It's just like, why?
a cat with a pet frog.
Eh. Not the weirdest thing in the world full of anthropomorphic animals.
Mm-hmm. And then the frog gets, possessed by chaos.
Is the thing. I think Sonic 06 has both the anthropomorphic cats as well as the normal regular cats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Blaze the cat.
You have
Blaze?
a cat with actual.
And then
I've known about Blaze, but like, where does Blaze come from? Like, what game, or where does she get introduced in?
her first game was Sonic
like,
06.
Sonic Rush was her first game.
No, I thought
Sonic
06. So I thought Sonic 06 was her first game, but
She was around before that.
Sonic Rush was
And-
his first game. Then it came
Okay.
Sonic Adventure and then Rush Adventure.
yeah.
Like they completely redid her backstory between two games.
Yeah,
Like,
they had to retcon her from 06 because you all said Sonic 06 never happened. Especially they had to, retcon, especially because of, that one scene that should have never happened. We don't let a human
You're
kid
gonna have to be more specific.
You don't let it.
There's a lot of shit that shouldn't have happened.
Mainly the kissing scene. That's the one scene that should have never happened.
oh, you mean bestiality and
Yes.
what helped introduce a fuckload of fairies?
It's okay, teenage girls. If your heart is true, bestiality's alright.
No, it's not alright. It's not alright.
Fucking Sonic says it's okay to kiss animals.
No, just no. This is wrong.
Yeah. Animal rape should be perfectly legal.
What the fuck? No.
Why not?
No, just no.
Just fucking stick it in the butt.
No. Not even stick it in the butt. No.
Don't act surprised.
You put out a little bit of chocolate sauce, it's okay.
Don't act surprised if your dick falls off.
You pull out a little bit of chocolate sauce, just let them lick it.
Ew. Ew. There's a reason why gay men.
There's a reason why. There's a reason why you shouldn't let me talk.
This is the reason why we limit your talking ability at times.
Like James talk.
Spike, hi. Welcome to the Discord. This is James. Don't let him speak. Hey, that reminds me, a second Axiom Verge came out too. On
Yeah.
indie games.
Yeah,
First one.
I mentioned it. I was like, I thought like you was gonna get it.
I played I'll probably get it at some point. But yeah, I played the first one, and that game is a mind fuck. But that whole game's story and that whole game's story is like just a mind fuck. But
I myself,
But yeah.
have Hollow Knight. Well, eventually if I could hit that Tales of Arise, but after Hollow Knight, I'll be hitting Tales of Arise, and I gotta go back to Blasphemous.
Yeah.
Iconoclast.
Blasphemous.
That Indivisible, I actually went and freaking got that.
I watched a playthrough of Indivisible. It looked really interesting, and yeah, see, if it was on sale, that's probably like the best time to get it. Because I'm just like, it looked like an interesting game, not worth what they were charging at the full price for. Because I think full price they wanted like $40 or $50 for it. I'm just like,
Something like
yeah,
that.
it's not worth that much.
I got it on.
But it is an interesting.
I played the what do you call it, beta or some shit, demo. I played the demo for it before the actual full game came out, and I had fun with it. But the demo, from what it looks like, it looks different from the full original game, full real game. So I'm kind of, curious what I'm going to run into. Because the demo had Valkyrie profile style gameplay, if you're familiar with that, which was pretty cool. Each character had a button to themselves, and you could do like team combos by sending people out at certain points to do their attack, which I thought was cool. But this one, the little bit that I've seen looks still similar, but I'm not sure how different it is. Big cast of characters. Apparently the plot for it's pretty good, so I'm definitely planning on checking it out. It's just right now it's like after I'm done with Hollow Knight for whatever, Tales of Arise should be out by then, or I should have already had.
Tales of Arise comes out on the 10th.
Yeah,
it's out on the 10th, I believe. So you got a few days to mess with shit. Indivisible is an interesting game.
I want to make sure I'm completely done with Hollow Knight.
Yeah, I heard you mention Iconoclast as well. I played that one, and I can personally say that one's pretty good too.
Yeah, well, I got Blasphemous and Iconoclast that I really want to play. Granted, I've had Blasphemous for a while, but after multiple times of seeing this Iconoclast and hearing about you guys playing it, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, let's give it a shot.
It's pretty good.
Good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Side scroller, mess with your brain and puzzles and stuff, among other things.
This big round reminds me of one thing. Remember the Ganondorf fight from Twilight Princess?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just imagine me using Big and just use the fish trying to whack every enemy I come across. That's all I can think of. Because it's Big. You can do that.
Fishing rod.
Fishing rod and hit everything.
Something's biting! I got a fish!
Excuse me.
I've seen that Charles too.
Something's biting. Oh, now what am I gonna do? Not too bad.
Yeah, he says he's used to the oil. Like, there's a fearlessness to how he works. Like, he's not afraid of everything anymore.
Welcome to Twinkle Park.
Hey, hello, hey. Hey, bud. Very good. He runs very fast.
Twinkle Park? Twinkle Park? Twinkle Park?
Barbecue freaking pork piece char siu. Then roast duck, freaking sweet and sour pork,
Duck.
sweet sour pork, fried vegetables, stir fry. Man, this guy's got everything. God, jeez, fried tofu.
Never cared much for tofu. I don't really like the texture.
There are a couple different types of tofu. You have your obvious softer tofus that you've probably had. Like one of the big ones is if you have like
Whatever kind of tofu they put in miso soup.
Oh yeah, that's your softer tofu.
Yeah.
But then they have like thicker ones. They have like 3 or 4 different thicknesses of tofu. And the one that you're talking about, like in miso soup, is usually a softer tofu, right? But then you also have like Mapo tofu is like their soft style tofu. That's the Chinese one, to the Japanese one. But then you actually have ones that are like fish cake consistency or thickness, right?
Okay.
And like it's basically fried tofu, and it's the inside is a little bit harder. The outside is like, the way they season it's a little bit salty and all that other stuff. Really good. It's good in like you eat the side with your rice and or eggs or whatever. And that's pretty good too.
Yeah.
You see it or like fried tofu. It's not bad. If you're getting like the tofu curd, the stuff in a little freaking plastic containers where it's like surrounded, it's sitting in water, that's clearly the soft one. But they do have a couple different levels of thickness or toughness to them. So if you don't like one type of thickness, then they've got like 2 or 3 other ones. It's just how you cook them. If you throw them on a skillet, they'll be a little bit tougher because you'll be able to get out some of that water. But if you, most of the time they're cooked in like stews or like you said, miso soup, stuff like that. or like mapo tofu with its spicy sauce and the meat and the vegetables in it, you know, or meat and vegetables, whatever. And you know, it's a little bit softer because you can just sit there and slurp it up, you know. But I personally don't. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the softer ones either, especially if you don't really add any like seasoning or sauces to it.
Yeah.
I actually do enjoy in miso soup, but you know, because it's soup, the soup itself is supposed to be where all the flavor is, and that, you know, adds a little bit of something to it. But obviously, miso soup is a side. So
Miso. Yeah, it's such a Japanese place me and April like to go to, and like I think you had like an option of soup with one of your things, and we figured we'd try it because we hadn't had it before. And we got the miso soup. The miso tasted great. I just didn't care much for the texture of the tofu.
Yeah. There are several different types of miso soup. You could probably ask them, it's like, hey, could you not add tofu to it?
Yeah,
you know,
probably. I want meat.
Well, good luck with that, because most of
You're
their
right.
soups are like or most of their soups are like vegetable soups and whatever.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna say, what is miso? Like, is it a type of bean or?
yeah, it's like some kind of miso bean that they turn into a paste.
Okay.
Well, same curry. Excuse me. Same thing with tofu. Tofu is a bean curd.
Huh. Okay.
You know?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a bean curd.
Like, I knew it was something that a lot of people use as an alternative to meat and everything, but like, I wasn't sure exactly what it was. And then the fact that like tofu, I think tofu doesn't really have much of a flavor, so its flavor is like, you know, basically however you cook it or however you prepare it.
Yeah, it basically, what do you call it? It basically takes in the flavors of whatever it's cooked in. But most of the time when most people cook the soup, tofu into stuff, it's usually thrown in later. Right, so it doesn't absorb too much of the flavors of everything else that it's in. You know,
Yeah.
like the one kind that I've had, like Chinese mapo tofu, right? They use like a chili sauce, and then there's ones with variants with vegetables, or there's another variant where you use like ground beef, right? And then you add the tofu in like just before you add the sauce. So it's like the meat's brown, you add the tofu, you mix it together real quick, and you add the sauce, you mix it all together, and it's done. It's, you know, you don't even let the tofu cook for more than a couple minutes at most, because, you know, you don't want it to absorb too much of the flavor while it's cooking. You let it absorb it as it's already done. Because, you know, when you turn off the fryer, the food's still cooking. You don't want to fucking burn it into it. You know. But the one that another kind that I've seen was where it was like a mapo tofu that was more like a stew, right? And that's where the actual tofu itself was sitting in the sauce with the vegetables for a little bit longer. You let it
Love me a good stew.
I thought like a miso soup was made from like something like a seaweed type of thing.
I mean, seaweed's probably in it.
Well, I mean, like miso soup, they add seaweed to it. You know, like seaweed flakes or whatever, they'll add seaweed to it. But miso itself is like some kind of bean.
Okay. You know, I just forgot one thing. I forgot one thing at Sonic Adventure, that Big actually gets a life ring, a life belt.
Yep.
Oh god.
There's a point where Sonic really should have just stopped making characters, but you know, we're not going to get into that. Miso soup is a traditional Japanese soup consisting of a dashi stock into which softened miso paste is mixed. In addition, there are many optional ingredients that may be added depending on the regional and seasonal recipes and personal preference. So the main ingredients are the dashi stock and the miso paste, and then, you know, whatever else fits, I guess, as far as like, you know, what makes traditional miso soup seep.
The actual miso paste is beans with salt and koji or whatever.
Let's see, what exactly is miso?
Yeah.
At its most basic, miso is a fermented paste that is made by inoculating a mixture of soybeans with a mold called koji. Huh, interesting. That's been cultivated from rice, barley, or soybeans. So yeah, okay, so it's like you said, it's like fermented bean paste, basically. Huh, Cool.
So
Makes you wonder. It really makes you wonder just the way how like the crazy way how some foods are made and such, and drinks and whatnot. I'm just like, who was the person that was either A, crazy enough to just like try that, and B, brave enough to actually taste it? Because
Japanese are weird.
fermenting. Well, I mean, even in that sense, like wine is basically fermented fruit. Like,
Yep.
Who's just like, hey, I'm gonna drink this, like, fucking spoiled fruit juice. Like, it's like, oh, hey, this shit makes me feel weird.
I'm not too sure about the wine thing because that's like
Yeah.
really. You got to go way back.
And then, milk and cheese, like, both of those are made in different ways. Like, cheese
Yeah,
especially,
talk
it's
about-
just like, yeah, I'm gonna take, this fucking, basically bacteria and shit, and fucking cultivate it, and I'm gonna take a bite out of it.
You're talking about BC shit for like
Yeah, and like it just makes me wonder. It's like same thing with bread, like like yeast. Like I mean, they didn't know it was a bacteria back then, probably, but like they someone was clearly brave enough to like hey, I'm gonna like take a bite out of this. It's like eggs, same thing. Like I'm gonna eat the first thing that comes out of the chicken's ass. Like
Hey, at least it was covered. At least it was covered and not, whatever.
yeah. It's like meat's pretty straightforward because that's just like an almost natural thing. Same thing with most vegetables. I mean, you'd probably have to get wise to which ones are safe to eat and which ones aren't. But when it comes to like other stuff, like it's just weird kind of thinking about it.
I think a lot of it has to do with the like fermenting processes stuff.
Yeah.
It started off with people looking for ways to preserve their food.
Uh huh.
Right. A lot of various fermenting styles revolve around salt. Right.
I was about to say this is where you end up having like people like salting meat or having it like drying it because like if it's dried and salted, it keeps for a very long time and it's not quick to spoil. Jerky.
I mean, like
I love jerky.
I think that's the old medieval way of doing it. They just add salt up and let it preserve that way because they didn't have refrigerators to keep shit cool.
Yeah, refrigerators weren't a thing, so it's like if you
you bring that up. One of the ones that I've always found funny because now that you bring that up, it reminded me of this one thing where I thought was hilarious because I'm sitting here like, what? Why? Is fish sauce? Big staple in Eastern Asia.
Yeah,
right?
isn't that literally like rotten fish, like rotten canned fish or something?
It's fermented.
Like we talked about that a while back. Like it's like canned fermented fish. And I'm just like, who was brave enough to eat that?
And I think the rich one is fermented. What was it? Anchovies. Right.
Yep.
So they take the anchovies, throw it in a barrel full of fucking salt, close it up, and let it freaking drip out slowly. You're basically getting the drippings from the grease and the salt coming out of the freaking fermented freaking anchovy.
That must smell wonderful.
No, hey, kimchi. Think of
to do that.
Think of kimchi.
But then obviously, kimchi. Jesus Christ, the fucking Koreans and their kimchi. Yeah, they use.
I've heard the term, but hold on.
It's fermented cabbage.
Fermented cabbage, but I
fucking hate cabbage.
And mind you, this is poor people food. From like Korea.
Yeah, salted and fermented vegetables such as Napa cabbage and Korean radish, made with widely varying selection of seasonings, including gochugaru, spring onions, garlic, ginger, and jeotgal. Jeotgal, whatever that is.
I don't know what most of that stuff is, or at least some of that stuff is, but I do know. I hate cabbage, so... If you want to go back to their history, it's like people were poor. They had to eat something, and they needed foods with strong flavors because, like China specifically was one of the big ones, Back in the day, a lot of Chinese people were seriously poor, right? And they had a lot of, they did not waste a single part of their food. So, like, Korea with their pork, right? China with like their chickens and pork primarily, right? It's like, well, how do we make these edible without it being nasty? Well, they added different type. They created different types of seasonings
Season that
in
shit.
order to give it flavor. So a lot of Chinese food, a lot of Korean food, Japanese food, Filipino food, they have strong flavors.
Yeah.
Right? It's basically an old school thing, you know, originated from really old school methods to keep themselves from fucking tasting their nasty ass food. They covered it in strong flavors. You know?
Interesting.
So, yeah, that was, I thought that was really interesting because, like, especially in Korea from, like, you know, long time ago, you know, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 years old, the vast majority of people were poor.
Mhm.
You know? China, within the past, you know, 100 or so years, 200, 300 years, or even like back in the imperial times, sure, the rich people got to eat whatever all this good food, but everybody else had to find some way to give their nasty ass food flavor.
Yeah.
So what did they do? They used chilies. So now you have different types of chili sauces and chili paste. How do you make chili paste? You just mash up a bunch of different types of chilies, add different types of other freaking spices and herbs together to give it a strong flavor to basically, in a sense, overpower the main dish.
Yeah.
Because, you know, yet again, refrigeration was an issue. They didn't have refrigeration. So they had a lot of fermented foods with strong flavors.
You know,
Yeah,
usually
no.
stuff that either
Go to station
took a
square.
long time to
Train
spoil,
has
or
opened.
that, like, you know, in the case of the fermented thing, it's just like, well, here, we'll basically make it spoil, and, you know.
Yeah, it's like what was it? One of their big signature things that you get in China, you get them from Chinese markets, is this huge fucking fish, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how big this fucking thing is, but or excuse me, how heavy this thing is. I don't even know what kind of fish it is. It's just big. You know, if it was you know, I'm 5'9", going on 5'10". This thing is basically as long as majority of my body. It's a 3.5 foot, 4 foot fish, right? And they'll let it sit out. You know, they salt it and let it sit out and basically sunbake for like 4 or 5 days. Right?
Okay.
They're basically letting it, you know, the
So,
salt
like,
getting into the meat, and then they're sunbaking it.
fish
right?
jerky?
And then no, it's not jerky. It's just fermented.
Okay.
You know? So it's like the salt's doing something to basically get into the meat while sunbaking, right? And then
Yeah.
I don't know what they do afterwards. I guess they might cook it or something afterwards, throw it over a fire or grill it or whatever afterwards. But that's basically how you eat it. You let something ferment for a little bit and then you kind of cook it to kill off the nasty shit. I don't really know. It was something I'm sitting here like, it's not something that I particularly think I would enjoy, but I would at the very minimum give it a shot. Thing is, you know, with us Americans and our weak ass, punk ass stomachs and shit, you know, most of us will probably get sick from eating that. You know, it's just how it is. That's why I remember when I went to the Philippines when I was 13. You know, there's two key things that you had to worry about over there. One was you always had to boil your water first before you drank any of
What
it.
you're looking for is
Yep.
ahead.
Unless you had bottled water, and then any kind of drinks you made that's not, you know, regular water. Like if you want to make like a mix, like a Kool-Aid drink or some kind of fruit drink or whatever, you know, you had to made sure your water was boiled prior to. When you're cooking, you know, you don't really have to use boiled water to freaking cook, you know, prep or wash your food, you know, because you're gonna be cooking it anyway. But just remember, you will have diarrhea. There's no way around it. You're going to have the shits. You know, it doesn't matter what you think. Doesn't matter what you want. If you want to eat the food, be ready to freaking blow out your asshole. You know, it's just how it is. It's just how it is. You know, get ready to sit on the toilet and just let loose. You know, I remember when I went to stay at my grandfather's freaking place, which is basically at the mountains. We had this big hog that we freaking slaughtered, chickens that we slaughtered, and we had all this big feast for the family. There was like 12, 30, 40, 15 of us, and a whole roast pig, and, you know, chicken, and all these different dishes and stuff that we made. The very next day, I was sitting on the toilet, damn near crying. All right, it's just how it is. Now, but then after that, I was fine. I could pretty much eat anything, you know, because my body. You have to let your body get adjusted to the food there. You know, you go to. I guarantee, if you went to like China or well, maybe not so much Japan. Maybe not so much Japan because Japan has, you know, higher standards of cleanliness than here in the States. They have far higher standards of taking care of their food and all that other stuff, you know, and produce and meats and all that. I mean, they're way more insane with that shit than we ever were here in the States. You know, so you might actually be all right over there. But if you go like China, Korea, maybe not so much unless you go to certain parts of Korea, like the countryside, then you might have to worry about it quite a bit. Because, you know, I've seen some of the shit that, you know, you go eat some of their like, hey, you go to random village A in Korea, you know, and you try to eat their freaking pork dishes because someone in the village is getting married, so they're going to have a party by slaughtering a few pigs, and then, you know, you're going to be eating the entire fucking pig, top to bottom, up to down, every single bit of it, and stews and barbecue and all that other shit. Just be ready to blow your asshole out. Get ready to dig a hole. Or you might as well dig a hole beforehand because you're gonna fill it up. And get ready for that kimchi because everything they have there, kimchi this, kimchi that. Even their fucking monks have kimchi, but their monks are also vegetarian, so they're perfectly fine with eating kimchi.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like doubt that anywhere in my lifetime I'll visit Korea, as cool as that would be, but definitely would not care much for kimchi.
I'm not a huge fan of it because it is a extreme. And mind you, there's
like I
different
said,
kinds
I'm just not a fan of cabbage in general. So
just be, you know, just keep in mind there's different kinds of kimchi too. So you have your spicy kimchi, you have your super strong kimchi. You have your not as strong kimchis, but they're still
doesn't
super
matter.
strong.
I hate cabbage.
Yeah, I'm with him. I don't like that.
My grandma cooks. My grandma cooks like amazing everything. Like anytime she decides to cook fucking cabbage, I'm like, all right, I guess I'm eating out tonight, or I guess I'm just gonna grab a burger or something. Like
It's like, it's cabbage. You're like, sorry, grandma, I'm out.
it's like,
Well, I like
it's like don't eat too much because you're eating that on your own.
one of the ones that I like is cabbage rolls. Right? And I know some people that don't like cabbage, but they'll still eat the meat that's been literally sitting in the cabbage. So they'll cut open the cabbage and eat the meat inside. The irony is,
the meat just soaks up the cabbage juice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They absorb the cabbage, and I'm sitting here like, so you like the cabbage, the meat that's in the cabbage, but you won't eat the cabbage. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know, that's one of the ones that I never really understood. I don't like cabbage, but I'll eat the cabbage roll. Like, fuck.
No,
It's like, yeah, with me, you know, I eat pretty much everything, so I guess if I get a little bit sick and have to, you know,
I'll try something. I'll try something at least once before I say I don't like it.
Yeah.
But you know, yeah.
Oh, is this that one dude's? Yeah, Scott's Barbecue in South Carolina. I've always wanted to go there. That dude's got a hell of a history with that.
Did you ever see my DM, Jets?
Which one?
The most recent one.
Hold on. Was it on Discord?
Yeah, I was mentioning about Genshin because I saw that Balls banner is up.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, you know, as much as I joke about it being a waifu game and everything, I'm just like, you know, she's probably the one character I'd probably be all over rolling for if I still played the game.
Who were you talking about?
The lightning deity, lightning archon.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. I need to get back into Genshin one of these years.
Yeah, it's basically where we were getting set up to head to, like, in the last big update, I think. Like, you actually go to Inazuma now.
Yeah.
Like where the God of Archon of Eternity, or, you know, the Raiden Shogun. They have, the gods have so many fucking names. They have so many fucking names, you've probably heard one of them at least, but...
I see a lot of stuff for that, the new different characters that you can get a hold of in Genshin. I just kind of look up from, and you're like, oh, this this Chinese anime girl look, Chinese Japanese anime girl looks freaking kawaii dasu, and then I move on.
Kawaii, yes.
And I'm like, oh look, another archer. Jesus.
Another archer.
I'd actually be happier if they were like, okay, so we're gonna have a archer style character, but they're throwing throwing knives or something. I'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
I can deal with that because it's not fucking
See,
bow and arrow.
I actually talked to Jets about that a while back, about like the different representations all the elements had, but we never actually talk about weapons, like as far as like how much weapons are present in the game and such. Because
they're pretty limited.
Because there are some weapons, or not some weapons, there were some elements we were talking about that like kind of had a bit of a disparity. Like I think before this most recent update with Ball and the Cujo girl and everything, it's just like Electro hadn't had any new characters for a while.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Pyro constantly gets fucking characters.
They have like 3 or 4 new fucking characters and shit like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, huh?
It's like Pyro constantly gets characters. Arrow doesn't get a lot either, but like they get some every once in a while. I think they're better now, but yeah.
Just more bows. God. Archers galore. It's like, can we have something different? Well, we have the samurai chicks. Well, what she use? A sword. She doesn't use a katana. No, she uses a sword.
Katana. Yeah.
Something.
Nothing.
Hello, bug lady.
She's got such a distinctive sound.
I actually hadn't heard it in a while. Like one time when Miko was playing the other day, he was talking to not the bug lady, but the other. I want to say, I don't know if it's a sword master or if it's the guy, the map guy. But like I heard his voice. I'm like, the fuck? I'm like, excuse you? It's like, what was that? But yeah.
We're together again at last, huh?
But yeah. So hopefully at some point in time Silk Song comes out. But we'll see.
That's strange.
Eventually, maybe, who knows?
It's like at this point, like, Elden Ring at least has a release date now compared to Silk Song. And I think Silk Song's been teased longer.
Where am I? Froggy?
I don't remember that part in Hollow Knight.
When did
Is this the name of their band or group?
when did Hollow Knight get all gangsta like?
I was trying to say, I don't remember getting challenged in a rap battle in Hollow Knight. Like, well, where's that?
Well, it's like I was just running through and I saw this one person that I listen to. He does like reaction videos of different types of music and songs and shit.
Okay.
And like he had this one where he's like, he's reacting / breaking down bars on this song, and the cover image is this one smoking hot chick with like demon teeth, and she's got like a tattoo on her face, and she looks really fucking hot, and I'm like, I gotta check this out. And the name of the group or whatever's called is Corpse, so I had to jump into it and give it a check, because I'm like, this looks pretty interesting. Don't know what they're talking about because I'm not paying attention because I got the headset on. But I'm like, let me just stare at this chick while I listen to these people do whatever this hot demon bitch is near you.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow. Is it all right for me to be here? So do you trust me? So these are the 7 emeralds.
Money, money, money. I need it all.
Okay. What else we got here? Do we have something that's actually agoraphobic?
Could it be?
E-girls are ruining my
The
life.
servers are
Featuring
the
Savage
7
Gas.
chaos emeralds.
What?
E-girls,
Followed by one. That is the controller.
Not the e-girls.
The 7 chaos.
Anime stuff. Okay.
The controller itself.
I think there's one that said like
Could this be the
Scott
emerald?
Pilgrim has
Girls
ruined
are
the
ruining
girls.
my life. Oh, I gotta check this out.
Wait,
Cat
what?
girls are ruining my life.
What did you
How?
say? Did you say cat girls or fat girls?
It's like cat girls aren't real for one.
Cat girls, ooh woo. I'm sorry.
Froggy, I don't like the looks of this place.
Lane
Alright.
14, we can act. Oh, fucking hell. Fucking 14.
I feel like this should disturb me more than it does, but oh well.
I think there was one
Looking at
that,
the nature is fucking lit thread, and there's a centipede nest. And I'm
No.
just kind of like, creepy.
no, I think there was one that was saying like how Scott Pilgrim versus the world has ruined women.
How? I've never really known Scott Pilgrim to be heavily influential amongst females.
Oh no, there was a video. I
If
didn't.
anything, it has a bunch of pop culture and video game references that would resonate with nerds more than anything, but
Does-
Maybe it's something to do with the females. Is want like all their exes to be fawning over them, trying to fight for them for with what? Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what?
I don't
I feel like
get
there's
it.
some mental gymnastics going on there.
I know. I don't know because I didn't watch the clip.
Corpse Husband. Is that what they're called? Whatever. The music's not very good. Because it's like... The fucking lyrics are so down low and like... I'm just like, you can't understand the fucking thing you're saying, so how is that enjoyable? Oh, but we have lyrics, it's like, yeah, if, you know, give me some subtitles, I might be able to understand what you're saying. Breakfast in a can. Why? Beans, sausage, more sausage, meatball.
I mean, there's breakfast in a can. You can also get a dinner in a can too.
American street food. The best hot dogs in Chicago. Yeah, Chicago style dogs are good as hell.
I've heard that they're pretty tasty.
Oh man. Like we have, well, I don't know if it's still around, but not too far from me is this Chicago style hot dog place.
Mhm.
The only, and it's, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's fantastic, right? Some of the best hot dogs you could eat that outside of stadium dogs, right?
Yeah.
Problem is their dogs are too small.
Yeah.
And it's like, you give me a man-sized hot dog, right? For the price I'm paying, you give me a man-sized hot dog, not this little bitch shit for, you know, a 3-year-old. All right, we're American over here. We're not fucking Japanese with tiny stomachs, you know. It's like we eat more. It's kind of weird, you know. Filipino people, you know, tiny ass Filipino people could eat more than Japanese people, and they're giving us fucking Japanese, you know, stomach size freaking food. I'm like, come on, I'm not a 3-year-old. Jesus. Not to say there's anything wrong with, you know, tiny Japanese people's stomachs. You know, it's just they eat smaller meals.
They're small.
us
They're small
badass-
people.
Oh yes, this is the place. Jim's Original. The Polish sausage. They freaking grill it with the onions and the seasonings and all that shit on top. I've always wanted to go to this place, but you know, it's Chicago. I'm afraid I'll get shot. So
I mean, it depends on where in Chicago you go. It's just, I would
no part of
assume-
Chicago is, and I don't want to risk my life just to go get some hot dogs.
So, he's your
So,
friend, eh?
you know.
No sweat. I'll get him back. Watch me.
That looks so good.
Careful, Froggy. Don't worry. We'll get you back.
That sounds like some kind of murder battle royale or something, but...
What I'm watching? Oh, it's just...
Oh, no, I was scrolling through Reddit while I was waiting, and, like, it said one that says, like, sitcom where people gradually get killed off and their spot in the opening title theme is replaced with dead silence, and then, like, response is like, I'd like to question your definition of sitcom. And I'm like, this sounds like some kind of murder battle royale anime that you could probably find, but... Just like, you know, everybody gets a spot in the opening, and then, like, you know, as they die off through the series, just like, you know, the spot's just dead silence.
Take you away again.
Go on and get out of here. I'll do the rest.
Oh,
That looks good as hell. This
Okay.
freaking sauce stand with the hot dogs.
Back
Or
into the move on.
tiny ass fucking hot dogs, though. The only bad thing. And if I lived near there and was able to eat their freaking sausage every day, I'd come home 650 pounds. You stop looking at that. I'm gonna get hungry. Worst chicken sandwich I ever had. Giant thing of bread, tiny piece of chicken.
Ugh.
Isn't that how most sandwiches are? All the bread and little meat.
At least, well, see, the thing is, and they showed the actual image of it. This dude like circled around, you know, like rotated the burger, and literally, when I say giant piece of bread, tiny piece of chicken, like, at least most places when they make a chicken sandwich, right, they have it, you know, proportionate in size to the bread, in the sense of at least it's as wide as the bread. This is just a tiny little friggin' strip. It's like a chicken tender. That's what it looked like to me. I'm like, you get this giant thing of bread, and oh my goodness, how awful. Oh, American street food, pork ribs, brisket, pulled pork. I'm not really a huge pulled pork guy. Oh my God, 60 eggs, giant rolled omelet, Korean street food. Lord have mercy.
On yourself. I'm getting tired, so I'm gonna be calling it a night there, guys.
Alright.
Alrighty.
Later, Jets.
Really.
60 egg omelet. My God. Good job, Korea. You guys know how to fill with that, man. Ooh. Of course, that's 60 egg omelet. You know that's like 20 people's worth of.
That's a lot of protein there.
Yeah, a lot of cholesterol.
Too much for me.
Salt. Obviously.
I seen somebody make I think it wasn't a 60 egg omelet, might have been a 100 egg omelet or something like that. And it was just keep pouring the mix right on top of the other one. Like, here's the first layer, roll it up, slide it back, roll another layer, roll it up, slide it back, another layer, roll it up, slide it back, until you did like 100 eggs worth.
Yeah. Well, were you using those big square omelet pans?
This was like Korean street food, I believe.
Yeah, that's from because this is a Korean street food place too.
I say it was
they
Korean.
have a giant freaking omelet pan specifically for making omelets.
Yeah, it's probably the same one, but I knew it was Korean just because the whole thing in YouTube had it in Korean like text, so I was like, I'm not going to
Yeah.
translate this, and I
This
don't
is-
feel like it.
This is a Korean one themselves. I know I've always wanted to get one of those omelet pans. I can get one. I just never really thought, actually actively went and got one.
I even
'Cause
wanted
those
a
omelet pans are really nice.
At one point, I did want a takoyaki pan too.
Oh, well, those are kind of pricey, but you can make a lot of takoyaki out of them.
Yeah,
Right here, making
I've-
takoyaki is not
I've never had takoyaki, but I heard it's tasty.
Do
It
you like?
is, especially get
it's
the
like-
takoyaki sauce with it.
Yeah, but you like eating octopus?
Hell yeah!
No, I'm talking about Marcus.
I've never had octopus before. I've had
That's-
calamari, although I don't know if squid's similar to
They're
octopus.
basically.
They're the
Yeah,
same.
like I would assume they are similar, but like I've never had octopus before.
Yeah, it's like octopus and some like green onions and some other stuff inside of it, just
I've
like in a batter.
calamari.
Takoyaki sauce on top.
Yeah,
Ooh.
calamari is kind of weird because it's like
I have
the
fried
meat's
calamari.
like the meat's almost got like a rubbery texture to it.
Yeah,
As
it's
weird as it is.
Yeah, it ain't really any different.
no, it's not any different, but it's really good. I like it. I had both calamari and I had octopus, and I was skeptical and nervous of trying them, but I was like, try it all, try it, can't complain. Just to say I tried it, and it was actually pretty good. Especially has something to dip it into on the side. Delicious.
Yeah, if you go to this Japanese place, Marcus, then they might sell freaking takoyaki. Just order it. It's guide.
I'll have to keep an eye out.
Yeah, it's good eating. With the sauce, they get the pickled ginger that you get to add with it and whatever. Good eating. I love that.
God damn it. People talking about a chatbot that Microsoft did, or an AI chatbot that they did. They had to shut off after 16 hours because it literally turned into a full-blown Nazi. People are like, how the hell did that happen? They're just like, it communicated via Twitter called Tay. The idea was that it learned from each person it talked to, and then it says like, but 4chan found it, reset its history, and they're just like, that explains it. I'm just like, oh my god. And then I was laughing because like it wasn't that common, but like it was just talking about
Since Big Story was short, also because I'm not going to really need to get extra lives or anything, because it's just gotta go fish and get set wave fish, then froggy. It's not gonna take long, so I might postpone doing Big's extra stuff. Maybe. I gotta see how many levels he has, because we still got E102 and then we got Knuckles. I'll probably save E102 for last, because he's actually easy to do.